This morning's topic is entitled Bartimaeus. It is very interesting because Bartimaeus had a wonderful story in the Bible that we can all learn from. And I would like you to open your Bible with me in Mark chapter 10, and we would like to start reading verse 46. Mark's Mark chapter 10, and we will start reading verse 46. And it says here, and they came to Jericho. And as he went out of Jericho with his disciples and a great number of people, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the highway side begging. So when Jesus and his disciples and a great number of people went to Jericho one day, they met this blind man named Bartimaeus. He's a son of Timaeus, and because he was blind, he was begging for anything. It might be a money, it might be some food, it might be anything. That beggars used to ask from people. Sometimes in the streets, in the corner of highway or whatever. And this blind Bartimaeus was there on the highway side begging. According to his life account, he was a son of Bartimaeus. I was looking at the, you know, interpretation in some traditions where they said that the word Bartimaeus or the name Bartimaeus is both an Aramaic and a Greek word. A bar in Aramaic means son of, and Timaeus is a Greek word or a Greek name that means honor or high value. So when you say Bartimaeus, yes, he's a son of Timaeus. According to Mark chapter 10, verse 46, he's a son of Timaeus. But his meaning, his name means the son who is honored, or an honored son, or a son of a value. And fortunately, the situation of his life seems to contradict the meaning of his name. Because when we say son with a value or son of value, it does not reflect to his actual situation, because Bartimaeus at this time is a beggar. He's a blind man. He doesn't seem to have value in the eyes of, people in that time. You know, when we think about people who have some um, a problem physically, some people consider them as don't have much value, especially here in the situation that Bartimaeus is not just a blind, but as well he's begging, in the side of the highway. But let's look at what happened to this life of a blind man, how his life from being a miserable, as many look at him, became a son of value, a son of value. He was a blind man, as we read the verse 46 of Mark, and he was sat by, the highway side and begging. In verse 47, it says, and when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. When he heard that Jesus is passing by on the same place where he was sitting, begging for something, he cried aloud, saying, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. In verse 48 it says, and many charged him that he should hold his peace, but he cried the more a great deal, Thou son of David, have mercy on me. Meaning, when he started crying out, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me, the people, including the disciples of Jesus, they do all their means to stop him from crying and shouting, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. But instead of, stopping, he cried more with a great deal. He said, Thou son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus, in verse 49, it says, And Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called. And they called the blind man, saying unto him, Be of good comfort, rise, he calleth thee. And so, as the people and the disciple asked him to stop, Jesus do the opposite. He said, No, bring these people, bring this man to me. And they called him and said, Be of good comfort, rise, because he calleth thee. Verse 50, and he, casting away his garment, rose and came to Jesus. So when Bartimaeus heard that Jesus was calling for him, he stood up and cast away his garment and came to Jesus. In verse 51, which is our Bible verse for this message, it says, And Jesus answered and said unto him, What wilt thou that I should do unto thee? The blind man said unto him, Lord, that I might receive my sight. It's, it's very interesting how Bartimaeus responded to the question of Jesus when Jesus asked him, What wilt thou that I should do unto thee? Jesus was asking, What do you want me to do unto you? You know that Bartimaeus was blind. He was begging. Maybe he's in need of food or money or whatever. So if you're in that situation and then somebody would ask you, what do you want me to do for you? You might say, oh, that you may give me some money that I can buy some foods and I can go to the doctor and have my eyesight restored. But Bartimaeus didn't ask Jesus for any money. He was a beggar. It's normal, for beggar to ask for money, for food or whatsoever. They can ask from somebody. But in this case, in this situation, like what I said, Bartimaeus is not asking Jesus anything like that. But he told Jesus, Lord, that I might receive my sight. Lord, that I might receive my sight. His only request to Jesus was that the restoration of his eyesight. Him being blind at that time, he wanted to have an eyesight. He didn't tell Jesus, Lord gave me money, Lord gave me this, Lord gave me this because I'm a beggar. I'm a blind man. Just give me this. He was longing to have his eyesight restored unto him. And Jesus told him, Go thy way, thy faith hath made thee whole. And immediately he received his eyesight and followed Jesus in the way. What did Jesus told him? Go thy way, thy faith hath made thee whole. And immediately he received his eyesight or his sight, and instead of going his way, he followed Jesus in the way. Very interesting, brethren. Very interesting. From a situation which is too difficult to to imagine a very desperate situation, being a blind and a beggar. There are blinds who are quite rich. We know somebody who do not have an eyesight, but they have something in themselves. They are not begging for anything. They are not begging for food because they have something in themselves financially. They're able. But in this case, Bartimaeus is not just a blind man, but at the same time, he's also a beggar. And for somebody who is into that desperate situation and his life was changed, such kind of very encouraging to each and every one of us. Now, in the spirit of prophecy, it's interesting. It is written in Review and Herald, March 15, 1887, where it says, blind Bartimaeus is waiting by the wayside. He has waited long to meet Christ. Throngs of people who possess their sight are passing to and fro, but they have no desire to see Jesus. Wow, such a very heavy or weighty declaration from the spirit of prophecy. Bartimaeus, being a blind man, longed for a quiet period of time, for a long period of time, to see Jesus. While many people who have their eyesight, they can see things, but they don't want to see Jesus. This is the contrast. Bartimaeus, a blind man, doesn't have any eyesight, wanted to see Jesus, while many people who are not in the same situation as Bartimaeus, and yet they did not long to see Jesus. His only hope is in Jesus. For Bartimaeus, his only hope is in Jesus. As he waits and watches, he hears the tread of many feet and eagerly inquires, what means this noise of travel? So when Bartimaeus was on the side of the highway, he noticed that there are many steps of people passing through, and he was asking, what are these noise? What are these noise of travel? The bystanders answered that Jesus of Nazareth passes by. And this triggers more the desire and the interest of Bartimaeus to see Jesus. Because when he asked the people, what are these noises that I've heard traveling? The bystanders told him, oh, it's Jesus of Nazareth who passed by. And it says, with the eagerness of intense desire, he cries, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. They try to silence him, but he cries the more vehemently, thou son of David, have mercy on me. You see, in his blindness, he has one longing for a very long time. He has one longing, and that is to see Jesus. And when he heard Jesus passing by on the very place where he stayed and begging for something from people, he cried, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And like what we mentioned already, people and the disciples themselves, they try to silence him. And the more they silence him, the more he cries vehemently, shouting, thou son of David, have mercy on me. The actions of the people surrounding him, telling him, please come down, please, be quiet, didn't stop him with his longing to see and to meet Jesus. it says the more they try to silence him, the more he cried, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. In this situation, we can see the good attributes of this blind man, Bartimaeus. First, he recognized that he is blind. He did not pretend that, oh, I'm okay, even if I'm blind. He recognized that he is blind. Second, he longs for a healing, that his eyes may be restored. And the only way for him to have his eyesight is to see Jesus. And that is why he longs to see Jesus. He longs to see Jesus. And when he knew that Jesus was passing by on the very same, place where he was begging, he persistently asking Jesus to heal him, to have mercy on him, even though the throng tried to silence him. And what was the result of his persistent and intense eagerness and desire from Jesus to, for Jesus to have mercy on